After driving 9 hours through a snowstorm to surprise my wife on her birthday, I walked in with a cake and heard her say, "God, I hope he crashes. I could use the insurance." Her sister laughed, and that's the moment I realized the woman I loved might have been waiting for me to die. Underscore, I used to think love fades quietly. You know, like when a favorite sweatshirt starts losing its color in the wash. You don't really notice it's changed until one day you look down and realize it's just not the same anymore. That's kind of how it started with Amanda. We weren't a flashy couple. No loud fights in restaurants or dramatic Instagram breakups. We were steady, reliable, married for almost 9 years. A golden retriever named Max. A home with mismatched furniture we said we'd replace next year for the last 5 years. Our routine was our rhythm. I made coffee at 6:45. She packed lunch at 7. We kissed goodbye at the door, always the same side of the cheek. Weekends were for groceries, laundry, and sometimes a movie night when we weren't too tired. We were fine, or so I thought. Looking back, the signs were probably there. The way Amanda started coming home later from work. Not late enough to be suspicious, just late enough to be explained. Traffic was awful, she'd say, dropping her keys into the bowl. Had to finish that campaign pitch. Or, Lisa and I grabbed drinks. You know how she talks. And I believed her. Not because I was naive, but because I wanted to believe her. We trust the people we love. Or maybe we love the people we trust until they give us a reason not to. It wasn't just the late nights. She stopped asking about my day. Stopped sitting beside me on the couch. Stopped laughing at the dumb little jokes I used to make when folding laundry. Hell, she stopped folding laundry with me at all. She didn't pull away like someone running. She pulled away like someone already gone. But the moment that changed, everything wasn't explosive. It was painfully quiet. One Thursday, I was working from home. Bad head cold. Nothing major. Amanda didn't know. I'd forgotten to text her. Around 11:20 a.m., I heard the front door creak open. Her voice followed, light, warm, not alone. She wasn't supposed to be home. I stayed silent. From the crack between the hallway and the kitchen, I saw her. Not just her, but him. A man I'd never seen before. Well-dressed, confident, comfortable. They were laughing about something. She set 2 mugs on the counter. He leaned close. Too close. I could have walked in, confronted them, shouted, screamed, broken something, maybe even forgiven something. But I didn't. I waited and listened. Then I heard her say something I'll never forget. Sometimes I feel like I'm living 2 lives. One for me, and one just to keep him from realizing he already lost me. And that was it. No affair caught in the act. No lipstick on a collar. No shady hotel receipts. Just one sentence. That was enough to ruin everything. I waited until they left. Packed a small bag. Took Max and drove to my brother's place across town. I left no note. No message. No explanation. And that night, in a guest bedroom that smelled like laundry detergent and teenage gym socks, I realized something brutal. You can share a home, a bed, a whole damn life, and still be strangers. A week after I left, Amanda still hadn't called. Not a text. Not a "where are you?" Not even a "what the hell?" At first, I thought maybe she was giving me space. Then I wondered if she hadn't even noticed. That thought stung more than I'd like to admit. I was staying with my brother, Josh, in his cramped apartment with peeling wallpaper and a couch that ate your spine. Max had adjusted faster than I did. He loved the chaos, the noise, the random food scraps Josh kept dropping. I couldn't sleep. My mind played that sentence on repeat like some sadistic lullaby. One life for me, and one to keep him from realizing he already lost me. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face. Not the Amanda I married, but the one standing in our kitchen, laughing with another man like I didn't exist. Her birthday was coming up. February 18th, cold. Always snowing. Every year, I made her favorite lemon raspberry cake from that fancy bakery across town. We'd eat it while binging bad movies. It was our thing. This year, I didn't owe her anything, but I still ordered the cake. Why? I wish I could tell you it was out of closure or some poetic need for symmetry. But honestly, I think I just needed to see if she missed me, if any part of her still remembered what we had. I told Josh I needed the car. He warned me about the storm coming in from the north, said I was crazy. I agreed, but I went anyway. 9 hours. That's how long it took to drive through the snow. Blinding flurries, spinning tires, coffee that tasted like burnt hope. But I made it. Amanda was at her sister's house. I knew that from her social media. She posted a selfie the day before. Spa robes, champagne, captioned self-care weekend. The house lights were on when I pulled up. I parked a block away. Snow was piled so high, it felt like wading through memories. I carried the cake in both hands like it was made of glass. The front door was unlocked. I stepped inside and heard laughter from the kitchen. I wasn't supposed to be there. And maybe if I hadn't heard what she said, I'd still be trying to fix what was already gone. Her voice came first. Playful, comfortable. Noah? Oh, nothing. Radio silence. Probably still gaming, headphones on. Her sister, Mia, laughed. At least he's not here ruining your birthday. I almost stepped in, almost smiled, said surprise. But I didn't, because Amanda kept talking. God, can you imagine? He'd come at dinner, tell the same 3 stories he always tells, then give me that sad puppy look when I want to go out without him. Mia. Well, he's safely out of the way. Roads are a mess. My friend's husband got stuck for 3 hours on I-90. Then Amanda said it. God, I hope he crashes. I could use the insurance. And Mia? She laughed. Or at least a few months of silence. I didn't storm in, didn't scream, didn't throw the cake. I walked into the kitchen, placed the cake on the counter. Their faces drained of color, like someone had pulled the world out from under them. Amanda said my name, half choked. I didn't answer. I walked back out through the snow, feeling colder than the air around me. Sat in the car for 20 minutes before I could even put the key in the ignition. My hands were shaking. I wasn't angry, I was hollow. I turned off my phone that night, ignored the texts, the calls. Drove to a cheap motel that smelled like mold and cigarettes. Sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the wall until sunrise. I didn't go home. I went back to Josh's, packed my stuff neatly into 3 suitcases, grabbed my birth certificate, my passport, the external drive with our photos, the watch my dad gave me when I got my first job. I erased myself. People always ask when a relationship ends. Was it the cheating? The lies? The distance? But the truth is, most relationships don't end with a bang. They end with a sentence. A moment. A choice. I hope he crashes. That was my moment. There's a strange kind of grief that comes from losing someone who's still alive. It's not loud like death. It doesn't bring flowers or casseroles. There's no funeral, no speeches. Just silence. Emptiness. The slow, dull ache of someone choosing to stop loving you while still walking around like they didn't. That's what the days after felt like. Not anger. Not even heartbreak. Just grief. I moved into a friend's guest room. His name's Daniel. One of the good ones. Quiet guy. Doesn't ask too many questions. Just handed me a beer the first night and said, stay as long as you need. I didn't unpack right away. I just existed. Amanda kept calling. Different numbers. Different tones. Her voicemails shifted like a broken record on shuffle. Please talk to me. It was just a joke. You weren't supposed to hear that. I'm worried about you. You're acting like a child. If you don't call me back, I'm calling the police. But not once, not a single time, did she say, I'm sorry. A few days in, I went to the bank. Split our joint account. Froze our shared credit cards. Changed all my passwords. Filed for a new mailing address. Canceled Netflix, Disney Plus, even Spotify. Not because I was bitter. Because I needed the separation to be real. Tangible. Cold. Like the snow I drove through to find the truth. That night, I scrolled through photos on my phone, old ones. Amanda grinning with cake on her nose. Amanda asleep on the couch, a book on her chest. Amanda in the rearview mirror during a road trip, singing off-key and not caring. I didn't delete them. I couldn't. Instead, I stared until my eyes hurt and finally fell asleep with my phone still in my hand. On the 4th day, I met with a lawyer. His name was Mark. He asked if I was ready for divorce. I told him I didn't know yet. He nodded like he'd heard that 1,000 times before and said, let's start with a separation. Give you space. Let the smoke settle. We drafted the paperwork. He said he could have it served by the end of the week. It felt unreal. Friday morning, I did something stupid. I posted a picture of the cake. The same lemon raspberry cake, sitting untouched on the kitchen counter. No caption, just the image. Within an hour, my phone exploded. Mutual friends asking what it meant. Some thought it was a joke. Others thought Amanda had cheated. She called 6 times in 20 minutes. I didn't answer. The next day, I ran into her sister, Mia, at the grocery store. She spotted me by the freezer aisle. Her face went pale. Basket in hand, words stumbling. She's worried sick. You can't just disappear. I didn't respond. So she switched tactics. It was just a joke. Sisters talk shit. You're blowing this out of proportion. I finally spoke. If your boyfriend heard you say you hoped he'd crash for the insurance money, would he call that a joke too? She didn't answer. I left my cart there in the middle of the aisle. Walked out. Petty? Maybe. But God, it felt good. Sunday was quiet. Daniel and I watched football with some guys from work. No one asked questions. Just beers, banter, and a few loud groans over missed passes. For 3 hours, I felt normal again. Almost. Until bedtime. That's when the silence creeps in. When you remember the sound of someone brushing their teeth beside you, or how they always hummed off-key while making tea. When you remember being known, and now not. That night, I finally listened to her latest voicemail. Her voice was different. Hoarse. Like she hadn't slept. The house feels wrong without you. I walked in the bedroom today, and half your closet was gone. Your books. Your charger. Even that stupid mug you always used. I didn't think you'd really leave. Are you coming back? Are you ghosting me for real? I didn't respond. But my heart did something weird. It didn't soften. It didn't break. It just sighed. Because for the first time, I realized she didn't miss me. She missed the version of me that made her life easier. By day 10, I was barely eating. Sleep came in short, cruel bursts, always ending in the same dream. Me walking through the snow, holding that stupid cake, hearing her laugh just as the door creaked open. So I started running in the mornings. Not to get fit, not to clear my head, just to feel something. Cold air, heavy breath, the pulse of blood behind my ears. Something real. Monday, I met Milton. Not the lawyer. This one's a financial advisor. A guy Daniel knew from work. The kind of man who says, I'm just here to give you clarity, while wearing a sweater vest and glasses with the chain still attached. I gave him access to our financial records. Every login. Every card. He said we'll go slow, but there's no such thing as slow when the truth punches you in the throat. In the last year, Amanda had spent over $17,800 on online shopping. Clothes, skincare, furniture we never unpacked. She'd opened 2 store credit cards I didn't know about, one with a $3,000 balance. Worse, cash withdrawals. $300 here, $500 there. Over $12,000 in missing funds. And I had no idea, because I trusted her, because I was busy working, because she said, I've got the bills covered this month. Milton didn't flinch. He printed spreadsheets, color-coded everything. Drew lines between accounts like this was just a puzzle to solve. To me, it wasn't a puzzle. It was a betrayal. One more layer of her choosing herself. Quiet, systematic, like she'd been planning her exit and dressing it in designer clothes. That night, I sat in the guest room staring at our old wedding photo on my phone. Her smile back then looked different. Warmer, less forced. Like she didn't know yet that someday she'd wish me dead for the money. And maybe she didn't. Maybe the woman in that picture never would have said those words. But people change, and they don't always bring you along for the ride. I drafted a message to her. Not to attack, just to explain. I wanted to say, you didn't just hurt me with what you said. You made me question if I was ever enough for you at all. I wanted to say, I think I loved a version of you that stopped existing years ago. I wanted to say, I'm not sure what hurts more, what you did, or how long I ignored the signs. But I didn't send any of it. I just hit delete. Because what was the point? She didn't need an essay. She needed consequences. Milton helped me draft a formal financial separation letter. It wasn't a divorce paper, just a legal declaration. From this moment forward, I wasn't responsible for any new debt she created. We couriered it to her workplace. Yes, it was cold. Yes, it was calculated. But I was done bleeding quietly. That Friday, I posted one more photo on social media. Same cake. Still half-eaten. Still sitting on a counter. No caption. No context. Just silence. Saturday was supposed to be quiet. I went to the grocery store for the first time since everything fell apart. Just a simple run, frozen meals, cereal, coffee. I was standing there, comparing frozen pizza brands when I heard my name. I turned. Mia, Amanda's sister, basket in hand, pale as a ghost. Her eyes flicked to the shopping cart, back to me, like she couldn't believe I was functioning. Hey, she said, voice uncertain. She's worried sick. You can't just disappear like this. I didn't say a word, just stared at her. She shifted her tone. It was just a joke. A stupid, dark joke between sisters. You know how we talk. You're blowing this way, out of proportion. That's when I spoke. If your boyfriend heard you say you hoped he'd crash for the insurance money, would he call that a joke too? Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. Nothing came out. I left the cart behind and walked out. Didn't even grab the coffee. Petty? Sure. Satisfying? Absolutely. That night, I didn't sleep. Again, I lay there staring at the ceiling, hearing her laugh on a loop. It wasn't just what she said. It was that she laughed, that it came out so easily, like she'd said it before. Like it wasn't new, just funny. There's something about that kind of cruelty, something practiced. The next day, I listened to one of her voicemails for the first time. She sounded wrecked, tired, cracked. I haven't slept in days. The house is too quiet. I keep waiting for the door to open, for you to come in and tell me I'm being dramatic. I didn't mean it, Noah. Please believe that. I was drunk and I was angry, and Mia pushes me sometimes. I didn't mean it. I swear. Please come home. She didn't apologize. Not really. Not for the words. Not for the laugh. Not for the spending. Just that classic line, I didn't mean it. But if you didn't mean it, why was it so easy to say? Monday morning, I woke up to a text from my neighbor, Lydia. Hey, I think Amanda was sitting on your porch last night, crying. Looked like she tried the garage code. Did you change it? Yes, I did. I also changed the locks. Canceled her access to the home Wi-Fi. Remove her login from all our smart devices. Because this wasn't just about physical space anymore. It was about reclaiming mental space. I had to protect my peace. On Tuesday, I got a fraud alert. Abigail, I had stopped calling her Amanda in my head, had spent over $2,000 across 3 department stores. Retail therapy? Revenge? I didn't care. I reported the card stolen and had a new one issued to a secure P.O. box. Another bridge burned. That night, I posted something vague on Facebook. Sometimes the hardest thing and the right thing are the same. No names, no context, but it was enough. Mutual friends started texting. One asked if I was okay. Another asked what happened. One of her friends messaged me with, I'm sure this is just a misunderstanding. Amanda loves you. You guys can fix this. I didn't respond. Let them wonder. The next big hit came Wednesday. I met with the lawyer again. Same name as my financial guy, Milton. I know, confusing. This Milton walked me through the next steps. Explained the legal separation process. Said we didn't need to jump into divorce yet. That sometimes people needed space to think clearly. I agreed. Let's not make it final just yet. Let's just make it real. He had the paperwork drawn up the same day. By Thursday, Amanda showed up. Not with flowers. Not with grace. With tears. She found me at Daniel's place. Somehow, Daniel answered the door, then came back into the room looking like he'd seen a ghost. She's outside, crying, asking to see you. I didn't want to, but I also didn't want her spinning this into me being unreasonable. So I nodded. Let her in. She looked wrecked. Hair undone. Eyes red. Still wearing the same oversized hoodie she used to sleep in. And for a second, it didn't feel like my wife. It felt like a stranger who happened to know all the same memories. She didn't sit, didn't move, just stood there, barely breathing, then whispered, Are you really serving me with separation papers? I said yes. She started crying again, said she didn't mean any of it, that it was a mistake, that she was overwhelmed, that Mia was a bad influence, that she missed me, that she needed me. Then she tried to lie. I never said I wanted you to crash. I think you misheard me. I said I wish he'd just crash on the couch for a while. That's it. You misheard. That's why I pulled out my phone. I played the recording. Yes, I had one. From the drive. I'd used a voice memo app to jot down birthday surprise ideas and forgot to turn it off. Her voice, crystal clear. God, I hope he crashes. I could use the insurance. Followed by Mia's reply. Or at least a few months of silence. Then laughter. She tried to grab the phone. I pulled it back. She broke. After I played the recording for her, Amanda went still. Not quiet, still. You know that moment when someone's brain short circuits and they realize they can't talk their way out of what's in front of them? That was it. No fake crying. No twisting of words. Just silence. For a second, I thought she might scream. Instead, she just asked me one question. Would you have ever known if you hadn't heard it yourself? I didn't answer, because the truth was brutal. No, I wouldn't have. I would have kept loving her, trusting her, defending her. And she would have kept laughing. She didn't say much after that. She just stood there, tears running down her face, lips pressed together so tight they went white. Then she whispered, I'll spend the rest of my life making this up to you, if you let me. It would have been romantic, maybe, if it wasn't so absurd. Because this isn't a rom-com. This is real life. And in real life, sometimes I'm sorry comes too late. After she left, Daniel came out with 2 beers. That was the most uncomfortable thing I've seen since my parents' divorce. We both laughed. Kind of. Then we sat there for a long time in silence. Not the bad kind. Just space. Just someone saying without words, you don't have to carry this alone. Friday morning, the separation papers were delivered. She signed for them. No drama. No last-minute plea. But that afternoon, her sister Mia posted something passive-aggressive on Facebook. Funny how men can't handle one joke and ruin 7 years over it. Hashtag fragile masculinity. No names. No tags. But we all knew. And the comments, the comments split right down the middle. Half of them, OMG, so true. People are too sensitive these days. The other half, y'all don't even know what happened. Maybe stay out of it. And then, something unexpected happened. Amanda's best friend, Jill, messaged me. I heard what really happened. I'm so sorry. I always thought she crossed lines sometimes, but I didn't know it was this bad. I've been her friend for years, and even I would have walked out if I heard that. It was the first message I'd received that didn't try to minimize the pain. And for some reason, it meant more than I could admit. The weekend passed in quiet. Daniel was out with his girlfriend, so I had the house to myself. I watched bad TV, ordered greasy takeout, sat on the floor with a blanket around my shoulders like a burrito of broken trust. And for the first time since it all blew up, I started to wonder, what if I'd never heard it? Would we still be together? Still pretending everything was fine? Would she still secretly resent me? While smiling across the dinner table. Sunday night, Amanda texted, I'm sorry. Just that. 2 words. No but. No explanation. No guilt tripping. And it hit me harder than all the other voicemails, messages, and drive-by visits. Because it was the first thing she'd said that sounded honest. Monday morning, Daniel tapped me on the shoulder while we were making coffee. She's outside. I looked out the window. There she was. In her car. Parked across the street. Just sitting. Watching. I called her. What you doing? Her voice cracked. I needed to see you. Not talk. Just see you. To know you're okay. It was weird. Sad. Human. I told her to go home. She asked, did you believe me when I said I was sorry? I paused. I don't know. She stayed there for another hour before driving off. And I stood at the window, watching her leave, just like I watched her disappear from our marriage long before I ever caught her words on tape. That afternoon, I changed the locks on the house. Again, Daniel helped me install them. He didn't ask why. I think he already knew. Because sometimes protecting your peace means drawing a line even the person you once loved can't cross anymore. At this point, the divorce wasn't filed yet, but the distance was growing more permanent. And the version of me who used to beg for scraps of affection, he was gone, replaced by someone quieter, still hurt, still unsure, but finally learning how to put himself first. 3 weeks had passed since I left the cake on the counter. 3 weeks of silence, signed paperwork, and the slow, aching quiet that comes from watching something you once treasured rot from the inside out. And yet, just when I thought the storm had passed, another wave hit. Because healing isn't a straight line. It's a circle, a spiral, a messy back and forth between peace and pain. And the pain, as it turns out, wasn't done with me yet. It started with a text from a number I didn't recognize. Then another. Then a voicemail from a blocked caller. Turns out, people were talking. Neighbors, friends, even co-workers. Someone had told someone that Amanda was in crisis, that she'd been seen crying at the grocery store, that she was barely holding it together, that I had abandoned her after a petty argument. The narrative had begun shifting again. Then came the online posts. Vague, performative. Some people will break your heart and call it self-care. Love isn't real. Not when the people who promise it leave the moment you're not perfect. And my favorite, healing. Alone. Again. No names. No tags. Just pain dressed in poetry. I didn't respond. Didn't comment. Didn't defend myself. Because if there's one thing I've learned, truth doesn't need to shout. But it still got to me. Not because of what she said, but because of what people assumed. People who didn't know the whole story. People who didn't hear the audio. Who didn't sit in that snowstorm. Who didn't hold a cake and shaking hands while listening to their spouse joke about insurance money. It's funny how people always say there are two sides to every story, until they've already picked the one they want to believe. Daniel saw me spiraling and did what he always does. Let's get out of the house. We drove 2 hours up north to a lake neither of us had been to since college. Just sat there, watched the water. Didn't say much, but I think he knew what I needed wasn't answers. It was space. Back home, things got stranger. Jill, Amanda's best friend, messaged me again. Said Amanda had started selling off some of her designer stuff. Canceled her spa membership. Stopped posting as much. Said she'd even started a women's accountability group, whatever that meant. I rolled my eyes at first, but something about it felt different this time. Less performative. More quiet. Like maybe, for the first time, she was working on herself without an audience. Day 30 hit, and something inside me shifted. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But a flicker of curiosity. So I did something I hadn't done in a month. I drove past the house. Not to talk. Not to make a scene. Just to see. The porch light was on. Even though it was midday, the lawn was messy. Weeds pushing through cracks in the walkway. Something I'd always taken care of. The recycling bin was overflowing with wine bottles. But the curtains were open. And for the first time in years, I saw her through the window. Painting. Amanda. At the kitchen table, hair tied back, no makeup, wearing a hoodie that was too big for her. Painting little wooden signs with phrases like, "Be still, grow through what you go through." And I felt something strange. Not anger, not pity, just the quiet ache of what could have been. I didn't knock, didn't call. I just turned the car around and went home. But that night, I thought about her again. And I didn't cry, didn't rage. I just stared at the ceiling and whispered. Maybe we're both broken, just in different directions. Day 35, I received a package. No name, just my address and a familiar handwriting. Inside, a 10-page handwritten letter and a USB drive. The letter? A full timeline of our relationship from her perspective. The first date, the proposal, the miscarriage, the resentment, the lies, and finally, the night in the kitchen. It was raw, too raw. She admitted things I didn't expect. How she envied me for being content when she felt like she was always drowning. How she compared our lives to her friends, even knowing they were pretending. How she flirted with her coworker last year. Nothing physical, she swore. But still, she knew it was wrong, and she said something that stuck with me. I hated who I was becoming, but I didn't know how to stop. The USB? Recordings of her therapy sessions. Her voice trembling as she admitted to a stranger. I said the worst thing I could have, and the scariest part is a piece of me meant it. I couldn't finish listening. It was too much, too personal, too late, but I didn't throw it away. I put it in a drawer with our old photo albums. Because some truths, even the ugly ones, deserve to be kept. Not cherished, not forgotten, just acknowledged. By day 40, something inside me felt different. Not healed, but grounded. I wasn't ready to go back, but I also wasn't running anymore. I was just standing still, breathing, processing, and that for now was enough. It was around day 45 when the silence started to feel different. Not cold, not vengeful, just quiet in the way a storm feels right before it breaks. Amanda hadn't texted in days. No cryptic social media posts. No messages through mutual friends. Not even a sad face emoji or accidental missed call. And oddly enough, that scared me more than any of her previous outbursts. Because silence from someone who used to scream to be heard? That's not peace. That's strategy. Then came an email. Subject line. A proposal. Not that kind. I stared at it for a long time before opening. Inside was a single paragraph and 2 attachments. The message read, I don't know where this goes, but I want to be prepared for both endings. So I've written terms. For reconciliation and for divorce. Read them when you're ready. Take your time. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Of course, she'd put in legalese. Even her heartbreak came with bullet points. I opened the attachments that night. One labeled, if we stay. The other, if we don't. The first was surprisingly reasonable. 6 months of couples therapy before any move-in. Full financial transparency, bank accounts, debts, passwords. Bi-weekly check-ins. A shared journal, if we were open to it. A State of the Union meeting every year on our anniversary to talk goals, feelings, progress. It read like a contract, yes, but it was written with hope and fear, like someone who wanted to try but was terrified they'd mess it up again. The second document was clean, cold almost. She'd buy out my share of the house at market value. No alimony. Joint assets split based on contribution, not 50/50ths. No court drama, just quiet closure. It was fair, generous even. And for a moment I wondered, was this the same woman who'd laughed about collecting insurance on my death? Because this woman, she was scared and growing and trying the only way she knew how. Still, I didn't reply. I needed time, not to punish her, but to make sure that if I ever did walk back into her life, I wouldn't lose myself doing it. Day 50 brought something I didn't expect. Closure? No, more like a mirror, because that's when I went back to the house. Not to talk, not to fight, just to grab my winter gear from the garage because, as you may know, Minnesota spring is a damn lie. I texted first. Hey, I need to swing by. Snow's back. I left my boots and gloves in the garage. She replied instantly. Of course. I'll be home. No pressure. When I pulled up, the yard was a mess. The flower beds I used to trim were overgrown. The front porch light was still on in broad daylight. But the door opened before I could knock. And there she was. Not crying. Not begging. Just her. In jeans and a sweater, barefoot. Hair pulled up. She looked healthier than I remembered. And smaller, somehow. Not physically, just less loud. She didn't try to hug me. Didn't ask to talk. Just pointed toward the garage and said, I boxed everything for you. Even a scarf you like. Inside, everything was labeled. Carefully. Boots. Gloves. Scarf. Spare keys. Random hoodie I thought I'd lost 2 years ago. And for a moment, I wanted to cry. Not because of what we'd lost, but because she finally saw me, even in the smallest, quietest ways. Before I left, she asked one thing. Do you want to see what I've been working on? Her voice cracked on the word want. I nodded. Curious. She led me into the kitchen, where she'd set up a little art corner. Wooden signs painted with words like, start again, break the cycle, forgive, yourself first. She blushed, laughing nervously. I used to make fun of these. Remember? I did. I remembered everything. But I said nothing. Because some forgiveness doesn't come in words. It comes in standing there, choosing not to leave angry. Before I walked out, she said one more thing. I'm grieving this marriage while trying to save it, and it's tearing me apart. And for the first time in months, I replied from a place that wasn't bitterness. I get it. I really do. Day 60 brought another milestone. Not emotional, just financial. Milton, my financial advisor, called with an update. Amanda had kept her word. No new debt. No shady charges. She'd even paid off the store card I hadn't known about. He asked if I was leaning toward reconciliation. I said I didn't know, because I didn't. Still don't. But for the first time, I wasn't choosing from place of rage. I was choosing from clarity. Day 75, I moved into a new place. 1 bedroom. Downtown. Good light. I sent Amanda an email. New address. Lease is 6 months. I'm not coming back yet, but I'm not shutting the door either. She responded in 2 lines. I understand. The door here remains open. Day 80, she asked to meet again. Said she wanted to talk about what happens when the 6-month separation ends. We met in a neutral cafe. She looked different. Simpler. More grounded. No designer bags. No show. Just Amanda. Human. Flawed. Trying. At the end of the conversation, she handed me a final envelope. Inside, a note that said, "Whatever you choose, I'll honor it. Not because I'm giving up, but because I've finally learned that love can't be forced. I haven't decided yet, but tonight I lit a candle, sat with a slice of that same birthday cake, and felt something I hadn't in a long time. Not peace, not hope, but honesty. And maybe that's where healing really begins.